what is the kingdom of heaven? The one definition I have really liked is a definition that I am not going to say properly. But the kingdom of heaven is in the hearts and minds of men, because just as the verse says, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
That's the kingdom, on earth as it is in heaven. And he desires his will to be done in each. That's the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
His will being done in each. How do you do that? So my book, The Altar, The Way of the Altar, outlines a path that is reminiscent of altars in the Old Testament, which is fascinating. So, yeah.
I was going to say, I know I didn't bring anything to take notes on this week.
Oh, you're fine. So the how are altars built? Because altars seem to be a place where God meets people.
Yeah.
Like every time God spoke to Abraham, Abraham built an altar.
Yeah.
In every new place God spoke, Abraham built an altar.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the very first prerequisite of an altar, is where God speaks.
Yeah.
That is the place in which an altar is built. So pillar number 1, God's voice. And in the New Testament, he kind of puts this in, like, go into your room and shut the door and pray in silence, and what God sees in the dark, he will. I forget how that ends, but anyway. So it seems that even though God can speak wherever he wants to, that there are places that are more conducive to hearing his voice.
Yeah.
Like your prayer closet. Can you turn that back on, please?
Why?
Thank you. Go play drums or something. So, altars are built in the place God speaks. The second thing that altars require is a sacrifice. That is the nature of altars, that they require sacrifice. And the reason they require sacrifice is echoed in, we know that they require sacrifice,
Mama.
in part because of what?
Mama, but Ezra's in there.
Yes, he is in there.
I don't like him.
Because of stories in the Bible that they require sacrifice. Just the nature of altars in general, they do require a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Now, King David, when he sinned, God told him to build an altar, and he did tell him where to build it, and he told him how to build it. Which, if you're going to build a physical altar, those should be prerequisites.
Yeah.
Now you think of altars like a prayer altar, is something like that. So when he sinned, God told him, go over there and build an altar, and the king of that land said, I'll give you all the stuff you need to build this altar, and he said, I will not build an altar to the Lord that cost me nothing.
Yeah.
So you'd think that it's easy to say, God doesn't require anything I have, he's God. He doesn't need anything from me.
Mama.
And yet, somehow
Mama.
it matters that this was built on sacrifice.
Mama.
And I think in our modern terms, I think sacrifice can be anything. It's anything that God calls you to give up.
Yeah.
So if he is calling you to step back from the piano, that's a form of sacrifice.
Yeah. That's
Mama.
He told me to get rid of my horses.
yeah.
That's a form of sacrifice. So, for some reason, even though I have nothing that God needs, get down, please. Go play.
So it's your perspective too
Yeah.
on the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Mama,
But what do you mean when you say that?
that?
That's fine. Go play with him.
But my
Yes, he'll be in your way. You'll have to work around him because you're clever and you can do that.
I can't.
Okay, then don't
My,
sit here and cry.
I can't.
Good talk.
Yeah, so-
Mama, I just can't do
Yeah.
that.
A sacrifice to be given something that giving up. And maybe not even, I can't really say, I mean, you have to give it to the Lord.
Yeah.
So,
Well, sometimes there's another word you remember that verse, take my yoke upon you because my burden is light, learn from me?
yeah.
The word learn has,
I can't do that either.
it
I
is
can't do
defined
that
as
either.
learning
Or-
through remembrance.
Hmm.
Or learning through, that's not quite the right word. It starts with an R. Learning through, like ruminating.
Yeah.
Just thinking on it. And so part of sacrifice is letting go of old identities.
Mm.
And that just happens as we grow. You're going through it right now.
Yeah.
You know that you need to be okay with letting other people play the piano.
Yeah.
And so he's just walking you through the process of just letting it go.
Yeah.
So that's fun for you. And not that means that you need to let the piano go, but for some reason, he's making space in your life.
Yeah.
And you don't know why.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest, is not knowing.
Not knowing why.
Not knowing why.
I'll let you get to know why. God never told Job why.
No, he didn't.
Not even when he spoke to Job, he didn't
Yeah.
tell him why. He could have. We have the luxury of knowing that Satan went up and was like, "Hey, I got your boy."
Yeah.
He didn't ever get to know that.
Yeah.
I think the same applies. We don't get to know the reason why.
Yeah.
We don't know that it's wrong to ask why, but on the same line, he'll never answer you, so you might as well just make up a reason that it's for your good.
Yeah. That's true.
If you don't answer, you just make it up. That's better than woe is me.
Yeah.
I must be invisible. Yeah. And even Abraham, another one of he was willing to sacrifice his son on his altar.
Yeah.
But what he was actually sacrificing was his entire understanding of God's promise.
Mm.
Which is wild, like that you can believe a certain way and you trust God enough to go, I know nothing.
Yeah.
And if you want the entire definition that I know of what your promise is, have it. Yeah. So that also brings us to the third pillar of altars is obedience.
Mm. Word we don't like.
Obedience. Oh. If you hear God's voice and he tells you to sacrifice something and you do not obey, are you maintaining an altar?
Mm-mm.
No. If you hear God's voice and he tells you to sacrifice something and you obey, now you have a legitimate altar.
Yeah.
Now you have a legitimate altar. And this is how we maintain the altar. We hear God's voice. Sometimes he calls us to sacrifice. Sometimes it's just obedience.
Mm.
Not every time you need obedience does it require sacrifice, but
Yeah.
often in my experience. So then there's the other part of this is like, what if he's telling you to sacrifice sleep and you can't because I just did this? Hey!
He's ruining my plan.
So me and God used to argue about this all the time, where I would just lay down and he'd be like, you want to come pray with me? No. And I could not, for the life of me, persuade myself to obey. Because obedience doesn't mean blind obedience. It means fully persuaded that this is the action that I should take. Obedience means fully persuaded. This is not some teenager and he's rolling your eyes at you. Like,
Yeah.
No. Obedience is full persuasion. So how do you get yourself to be fully persuaded that you should obey when you're tired and you don't want to get out of bed? Just to go pray. But I did it to myself the other night. And I used identity. Because even though I don't necessarily, or in your case, even if you don't necessarily know the purpose God has for your life, you can still use it, or I know the plans I have for you, because his purpose exists.
Yeah.
And he hasn't forgotten you. You can use the idea that it exists to go, I need to operate from that place. And that person has a very special set of characteristics, which are often
Did
listed.
you lock him out there?
Yes, he did lock him out there.
Oh.
Open the door.
But this is my plan.
He ruined your plans? Yeah. Which the Bible often lists.
Yeah.
They often list the characteristics of a person who does the will of God. So somebody who does the will of God will get up. But I used my own identity verse. I am exceptional, and as exceptional, I do things. I'm exceptional because I was made in the image of God. So I do things that other people would never dream of. That's my verse.
Yeah.
So I got out of bed. I operated from a place of my true identity.
Yeah.
To get myself to be fully persuaded. And I know that this is possible for other people because somebody else did it.
Yeah.
She doesn't know her purpose either. She doesn't know even her identity, what it really is. She goes, I just have this, Jeremiah 29. I know the plans I have for you.
Yeah.
She goes, but should she use that verse for herself? That verse spoke to her. I know the plans I have for you. And that's what she spoke over herself to get her to not eat her kid's birthday cake. She operated from a place of identity. To become fully persuaded on the path she wanted. Even though she didn't know the end goal. She just know that there is one.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, isn't it? I've been looking at verses like the tongue is a very small member, but it boasts of great things. You put a bit in the mouth of horses and it controls its whole body.
Yeah.
The rudder of a ship is very small, but it controls the whole ship. So the way we can operate from a place of identity is this thing right here, the mind, plus mouth. And that's how we operate from a place of identity, even if we struggle against it. we can know who we are supposed to be with the mind, and we can say it with the mouth. And actually, weirdly enough, that's the same pattern for being saved. Believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord, and confess with your mouth that He. So, no, other way around. Believe in your heart that He died on the cross, and confess with your mouth that He is Lord, and you will be saved.
Yeah.
That's mind and mouth. Same pattern.
Yeah.
Which is cool. That is so cool. So when you know who you are supposed to operate from, you can use your mind and your mouth to teach yourself to operate from that, so that you can be fully persuaded into obedience. And this sacrifice and obedience is how you maintain the altar, so that you keep hearing God's voice. So when Curtis says, let's have a church that outgrows, each needs to do this.
Yeah.
Sit. Why are you hitting him? It's rude.
Someone's tired. Someone's.
Yeah. So for my personal walk, doing it in this way has helped me a lot. He's talking to me more. He's giving me legitimate direction, not just like me and myself by a closet. More like, no, this person needs encouragement, and pray for fear and regret. And then I go, and then she brings up fear and regret. I go, okay. And just, or like pray for your sister because she's not sleeping.
Yeah.
And then I call my sister, what's wrong with you? And she's like, what, did God tell you? I've been praying for you.
Yeah.
You've been on my mind a lot.
Yeah.
I see that. I see that you're mad. No, you're not mad, you're bored. And you're taking it out on him.
But I was not bored.
You're not bored?
Yeah, I was.
And the places God speaks to me the most are the place I read my Bible, my own little, I don't know, it's really just a couch, it's not a closet.
Yeah.
Mama,
The place I read my Bible, my car,
Yeah.
and one other little room.
Mama.
And he named them all. I never thought to ask him what they all were named. He has named, like, my car is the altar of gentleness. That's
I'm
wild.
not crying anymore, though.
Okay. Get up then. That he would bother to name them. But his favorite place to build an altar is actually the human heart. Which is why you never see Jesus building an altar. Because his favorite place to build an altar is the human heart. And actually, I was reading the story of Ruth and Naomi, and she followed the same pattern. Ruth followed the same pattern of she married into this family that believed in God, and she sacrificed her own to go with Naomi and followed Naomi's instruction, and provision was given her through Boaz. And that's the power of an altar. An altar is a place of instruction and provision.
That's good. Very good.
Yeah. That was my teaching.
May have to repeat it next week with the
Yeah.
ladies here.
I might. And maybe I'll get more clarity on it and have more to add.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So what I wonder is if